And I think that's the key here because Ben Johnson stayed, could have taken head coaching jobs, didn't. And now it's another year of receivers, quarterback, all together, offensive line playing together as well. You've got at least one running back in that backfield that you count on in Jahmyr Gibbs to catch passes for you as well. There's a lot of ways for this Lions offense to be insanely potent. And if I had to kind of lean into one that I specifically liked, I'd probably go with the passing yards over the passing touchdowns. And the reason why I say that is because David Montgomery's going to be in a spot where he's going to get a lot of goal line touches. They're going to want to hand him off the football. And I think that's going to take away from some of the passing touchdowns for Jared Goff.
I can't tell if I'm stuck in the past or if I'm just too woke when it comes to Jared Goff. Like, am I holding some of the things that went wrong in Los Angeles too much over his head now as we've seen him have two really good seasons back-to-back, specifically last season? Or am I too smart to fall into the trap that he had one really, really good season last year and now everything that went wrong in years past is fixed? He to me is one of the more fascinating quarterbacks in this league because of that. Job of making it very easy for him to be successful this year. I mean, they are taking all of the right steps in terms of building a franchise that is going to be successful for years and years to come. Didn't think I'd ever say that about Detroit. Signing Amon-Ra St. Brown, making sure that he has a left tackle in Penei Sewell, and then getting a bunch of guys on defense that are dudes. And on top of that, you have a guy in Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson that the guys love to play for. But there's always that little thing right in the back of my mind when it comes to Jared Goff where it's going to be like, he couldn't work it out with Sean McVay. If he couldn't work it out with Sean McVay, surely everybody else in the NFL is going to catch on to what he's doing, and they're going to make his life miserable again. So I look at some of these numbers. I would actually look more at the props. Because that 4,000-yard mark in today's NFL seems kind of easy. In the way this offense is set up with Ben Johnson, that seems kind of easy. So as I look at Jared Goff, I favor that more than, I know the value is way better for the touchdowns, for leading the league in passing yards, but I think just his over is the way safer bet that I feel much more confident about hitting.
Yeah, and listen, I think there's a clear reason why that's the safer play, right? There's a clear reason why that over is at minus 115 versus a plus 750 bet for him to have the most passing yards. Man, I'll tell you what, I hate having books hold on to my money for something that's minus 115 for an entire season. It's tough, you know, it's tough. Like, you don't have that payoff that you'd expect to get, obviously, if you have him leading the league in passing yards.
So I ask you, Nick Ashooh, which future would you rather have, the Indiana Pacers or the Miami Heat?
Listen, I know what you want to hear. I know why you put this question out there, and I get it, and I can't fight it. The Pacers have a really good young team. The only thing that would give me hesitation would be that as long as Pat Riley is in that front office in Miami, they always find a way. They always find a way to build up that roster in a way that is competitive. But Pacers have a lot of talent, man. And if Tyrese Halliburton can stay healthy and they can build around what they've got now, it's all just about them affording it at that point. So are the Pacers going to be willing to get into that? We start talking about the aprons and how teams can stay away from a hard cap and all this stuff. And most people don't care about that. Their eyes glaze over. But the reality of it is that's part of the business of the NBA today. If the Pacers can find a way to afford this roster as it continues to get more expensive, let's say over the next just 3 to 4 years, and throw that out there, they're going to be in a really, really good spot. But Pat Riley always gives the Heat an opportunity, and so does Eric Spoelstra. But I got to take the Pacers given what that roster looks like right now.
The Pacers are the correct choice. They are the correct choice here because the Heat seem to be in a bit more of a free fall at the moment. The thing with Pat Riley is he will get his team to where it needs to be. But if you look at the history of the Miami Heat, there have been some downfalls, right? It is very much a roller coaster or rolling hills, if you will. They have the heights and then they take a dip for a little bit. To me right now, they're in a dip. I don't know if Jimmy Butler wants to be there. He wants his money. I can't blame him. He deserves a little bit of money. He is the reason they have been primarily as good as they have, that they have reached the heights that they have reached over the past couple of seasons. It's almost been exclusively, not fully, but exclusively on his shoulders. And now they're not that anymore. I don't know how I feel about Bam Adebayo as a superstar in the league. I think he's a really good power forward / center, whatever you want to consider him. Maybe we're positionless basketball. Who cares? But he's really good at whatever he does. He's not a superstar, though. They don't have a superstar. And I don't know if you've noticed, Nick, Miami has been in the running for every single superstar that has ever moved over the last 15 years. Just ask them. And they have come away with Jimmy Butler, and that's it. And LeBron James. But in the post-LeBron world, they have come away with nobody. So I don't love the direction they're going right now, comparing that to Indiana, who they're getting better. They are built a roster in a way that I think is the proper way to do it, mostly through the draft, but supplementing with trades and free agency. I think their future is very, very bright.
U.S. Soccer handled it poorly, but it got handled. And at the end of the day, I will take handled poorly over not handled at all. And I the longer it took, and the longer we waited, and the longer no announcement came, the more I kind of got into the fear that they're not going to make a change. That they're gonna say, well, you know, it's only been 6 years. We feel like he needs more time. Like, that was the fear that I found myself repeatedly falling into. When I was in on Monday, we had Eric Winalda on, and I asked Winalda, what's the holdup, man? Like, we've been out for over a week at this point, and I'll tell you why. Despite the fact that I'm going to give U.S. Soccer credit for making the right decision, and it is the right decision, and they handled the business, again, poorly, the fact that Matt Crocker, who was one of the guys who had to sign off on this, we had to wait for Matt Crocker to come back from the Euros. He was in Germany, right? So we got bounced a week and a half ago. We became the first host nation in the history of Copa America, which is very, very old. I looked it up. First host nation to get bounced in the group stage. And the guy who's got to sign the decision to move on from Berhalter couldn't be bothered to pop on a Delta flight back home from Germany because he was just having way too much fun watching soccer in Deutschland. And that's kind of the point where I go, this federation is unserious. It's a joke. And it's a laughing stock for a reason. If you put what just happened to us on France, do you think that the French Football Federation would be cool if one of their 3 executives was just like hanging out in the Hamptons on a boat somewhere? No, that guy would be not just fired, he'd be tarred and feathered when he got back off the plane, right? Like, do you think if the English got bounced because, and by the way, congratulations, Gareth Southgate, like, what a turnaround for England in this tourney. But if England got bounced in the group stage this year with all the talent they've got there, and the president of the English Football Federation was summering in Rio de Janeiro and was like, I'll be back in a week and a half and we'll figure it out. What do you think would happen to that guy? They'd have locked him in London Tower like the last scene of Braveheart, man. Like, it would not have been okay. So on one hand, good. We made the right call. It took way too long. It took too many hurdles to get there. This should have been made. Gregg Berhalter should have stepped away the day after we lost to Uruguay. But he's too proud. He's too stubborn. He wasn't going to. We made the right decision. But the path we took to get here, man, it just, as optimistic as I am that, hey, maybe the next guy's the right guy, because we know the last guy definitely wasn't. But maybe the next guy's the right guy. The fact that all of these shenanigans, and I say shenanigans because the other word that I want to say would get us all kicked off the radio by the FCC. The fact that all these shenanigans took place from a week and a half ago to the decision today, which, by the way, was such like a hesitant, tentative decision, instead of just coming out and making the statement, it's not freaking good enough. They're just like, we'd like to thank Gregg for all we've accomplished. Listen, I got no issue with Gregg Berhalter personally. From what I understand, he's a very nice guy. I'm friends with John Harkes, a former USMNT player, knows Gregg, very nice guy. Winalda said the same thing. Super dude, stellar guy. I don't like to root for people losing their jobs, guys, but when your job impacts other people and when your job impacts the lives of millions of fans around the world, sometimes a guy's got to lose his job so that everybody else can benefit. That's where we ended up. Now the next thing I need is for the administrative officials at the top of this organization to get their bleep together, and let's treat this seriously, boys, because the World Cup's in 2 years. I have been planning for 6 years to travel the country and follow the USMNT around. And right now, I'm kind of like, what if I just save all my money and put it on Chiefs to win another Super Bowl? At least I would be entertained by that.